Let there be light, and there was light. Words of the said God, Mother Eve. If you're joining us for the first time, this is where we are talking about words and numbers, numerology, and scriptural references, of course, seeing how those scriptural references has impacted our lives. For instance, let there be light, and there was light. What was all that about? Well, we have found out that it was Mother Eve, as the mother of all living, that was the first spell that was cast in our era, or to where we came about, because of course it is said, you are the light of the earth. This is the teachings of Christ, and this is where we hadn't done the link or created the link before, is when Mother Eve said, which is the said God. The gods come in very simple terms, that every time we use the word said, for instance, or the word made or moved or created or called, planted, formed, these are the gods we are talking about. The set God, for instance. We also have the ended God, or the breathed God, and the blessed God. So most times we are very conscious that we are getting more spiritual when we say, oh, bless you, or bless this person, or particularly in Christianity, this is the term we use, blessings, because what we have really hinged on in this way is that, excuse me, is that, the last thing, or it's not the final thing rather, but there was an emphasis on Mother Eve's teaching, where Mother Eve said, behold, I have given you all fruit-bearing seed, that which have, or fruit-bearing tree, that which have its seed, and so on. So, but that followed the blessing, that followed the blessed God, when it says, and God bless them, or whether it was the trees, or Adam or Eve, and God blessed them. So them, of course, is saying that God blessed us in this sense, but blessing is that we need to remember it has the word less, and it is also meaning like to be lessed. So it's the past tense, Lessed. So basically, be lessed of whatever it is that of the cycle, because to have the blessings is really like a cycle. You are ending cycles and entering into cycles. It could be in the sentence, it could be in the word, it could be because everything is a cycle, and so we say a paragraph is a cycle. There's a cycle of a paragraph. It contains words, and it contains sentences, and a minimum of perhaps, I don't know, 4 sentences or 2 sentences, but it's a paragraph. And we have a cycle. Then you could have a page, that also is a cycle, a page of words in the book, that's a cycle. Then you have a word is also a cycle. You have a letter, that's a cycle. That's where Mother Eve really came in, about the letters. So Mother Eve was about 8 letters, and now we are addressing the final letter, where Mother Eve says, let us make man in our image, after our likeness. So I've been asked to speak on the afterlife, and I have seen that basically there is a link in the afterlife of what I inspired to share here. There is a link with the afterlife and this man that Mother Eve has invited us to be co-creators with her in this 5th and 8th dimension. So I am speaking of the 5th and 8th dimension. This is the cycle, and it is a cycle of us who refer to ourselves as being alive in the 5th and 8th dimension, which is a representation right here. So Mother Eve, in this sense, we say, okay, that's the serpent, or we know about a snake. A snake eats its prey or its food whole. And of course, this 8 here, which is the symbol of infinity, is really whole. Now, when we also hear about the lie that we have been fed a lie. This is the position of the 8 in the mouth, and that's the lie, which coincides with the word lie as well. Let's okay. Oh, okay. Oh, I can get back to this. So it coincides with the word God, God, which is 7, 6, 4. Adding this together is 17. 1 plus 7 is 8. So basically, 8 is in the mouth. And this is where Mother Eve has come to address us on this 8th dimension. So the lie, the word lie, L-I-E, also is 3, 9, 5. I am believing it's the same. So this is 8 plus 9, of course, is 17. Just as, so do we say God is a lie right here? So what I inspired to share with you right now, to say that God and lie is one and the same, of course, is that the gods have come to us. The 14 gods are presented to us in a way that we are the energy, or we are the receptors or vibrators. That is, if we become, should I say, I was going to say become conscious of that. No, but our participation in being alive, in speaking, in vocalizing, in vibrating, or emotions, all of those things bring God to life. So it's as if the serpent had eaten, which is Mother Eve here, the God, the serpent in this sense, had eaten its prey, and of course it went to lie. I've got to do a research on roughly how long the serpent lies to digest its meal. Perhaps 3 weeks, I think. I'm not sure, but it lies. There's the lie that we have been fed. So we hear this often, but this was for a purpose. So we get to digest our whatever it is, process. We get to process the lie and find the gem in the lie. So because whatever is in this lie this way, no, it has to, after being processed, it comes alive. Now, of course, as I said, alive, the word alive is really like all, it means all Eve. All Eve is really saying here, meaning it's all Eve. We have just one L, but that's all Eve, Mother Eve. It's all Mother Eve. To be alive is all Mother Eve. And of course, when we have come to this understanding, for many of us in the 5th and 8th dimension, of course, we see basically we become a 4-petal flower in this sense, but that coincides perfectly with the 8-petal flower, because the word 8 actually equals 4. So we can see that 8 and 4 is really one and the same in this sense. So there is a strong correlation right here. So 4, of course, we have seen 4 as the number of God as well. So this is where I am seeing the correlation with being alive, which let's do live because there's a lie. I'm not sure if alive is the correct opposite to the lie that I am talking about or I want to bring about, but let's just see. I think it's 3. Let's do this. This is 9 and 9, 18, 19, 20, 21, of course, 22. So this is 4. 2 plus 2 is 4. So basically, the lie is that um, we need to be active in processing or the activation of the process of the lie, like we are doing here on Crime Queen, discovering that we are the ones need to give the words vibration, or understand that we are giving words vibration, we are igniting that vibration, and hence we are adding to the liveliness of the words that we use. Hence, we are asked, or we are often told or taught to be mindful of the words we use, because what you give attention to is what grows, so, or what develops. So here we see that alive is 22, which is the second, I call it the second master number. Of course, it's that double vibration. Basically, we can see, so the lie, of course, is 17. 17 is 8. On the sacrifice template, we see that 8 is where we go to headquarters zone. Here, I call it the ice age. It comes into the ICE segment. But here we have the C. Here, it's like the C is at, I have said this before, is really beckoning us to see, as in sound mind, as in the language of, as in auditory terms, to see. Of course, we can see our eyes are shaped like a C as well, the upper eye, or depending how you want to look at it. But it also has a value of 6 here, because it comes under the 6 vibration, although 3 is value of, sorry, C is the value of 3. But here we can see that it is asking us to pay attention to the 369, because this is like 369. So here it's asking us to pay attention to this 6th column. This is where one has eaten of the fruit. This is where you pay to your dues to the inland revenue, or about to, because you are in headquarters zone. Now, if you are new to this channel, as I say, I urge that you watch my videos on template to numerology, or an introduction to Crime Queen. That will give you quite a in-depth explanation of this template. So we want to see how this here coincides with the afterlife, of course. So what I've come to understand, and I meditated on this, and I have a way that I communicate with Mother Eve, and I ask questions that perhaps I would not dare think of asking at one time. So what happens in the afterlife? What I have gathered so far is the numerical numbers. So for instance, if your life path number is 2 or 3, although we see the correlations, we see how 2 can also be 4, and how 4 is also 8, and so on, meaning all the numbers are interrelated. But I see that number 8 is really the last number. For instance, it's the final, which is why you get digested. So basically, this is like a mini afterlife effect. This is like a template or the parallel. So when you die and you have ate, because this is the eating of the fruit, so you eat of the fruit, your number 8, your life path number is 8 or it's 5 right here. And I'm just going by this. So if your life path number is 4 or 2 or so on, I'm not saying this does not apply to you, but I'm just going with the information I have so far. That 8 is where you are called to create and say, let us make man in our image and likeness. You are now in the heavens, in the new life, in the new era. So it means that for persons who have been or who have come to this stage, when you die, you can make a choice to come back as whatever it is that you choose to do, but you are not obliged to come back and learn lessons of this realm, because it means that you have graduated. So you have graduated to the heavens and the 5th and 8th dimension. And so at this stage of passing or dying, you now become, well, I would say an angel, if you choose to stay and or not return to have not return in the human form, then you can choose to do so. But you would have the privilege of, again, if you choose to do so, to look over others in the spirit realm. So that's my understanding of the afterlife. The afterlife, I believe, is that I believe that your numbers, and this is why it is said when your number comes up. I hadn't understood this now. This is why I love to do this intuitively, and Mother Eve is just really flowing through me now. So it's saying when your number it comes up. So basically you are then being graduated into another class, so to speak, or another number. So if you have mastered all the art or lessons of number 2, as for instance, if 2 life path number, then you perhaps move on to 3. I believe it moves on that way. This I will clarify in other presentation, but I know, for instance, that the 6, 7, 8, for instance, or the 7, 8, 9, we are moving in blocks. Now for 9, I know that 9 and 8 is interrelated, and that 9, because when we do the numerical value for the word 9, it is 6. So we can see the 6 is here, 9 is here. They are interrelated. You have paid your dues to the inland revenue right there. And so we are going back to 1. The 1 we are going back to, or we have, according to Mother Eve, that we go back to, before I thought was the jazz hair. And some people may have to go back doing this jazz hair, or to do creating this bond hair, like they had done the agreement. The disciples had done the agreement with Christ. But no, after completing this 8 and 9, we go back to this stage here, because this stage here is another 1. It also represents 1, and that coincides with the called God that Mother Eve has asked us to familiarize ourselves with, to get to know the called God, because this is the God we are really in contact with right now. Of course, we are in contact with all the gods, but this is where you can see, for instance, when Christ was born, and the angels had told Joseph to call him Emmanuel, or whatever name that they had, and they said no, but they called him Jesus. So we can see the called God was present. If the called God is the first thing, it's like you hear, what shall you name the child? Or we shall call the child Jesus, or we shall call the child Emmanuel. So that you have your names, but you are also called your name and other by other names. So some people are called certain names that they are not really christened or dedicated, or it's not really in their on the birth certificate, for instance, but they are called a certain name. Now, so this is what it seems like very important that we get to learn how to call, because Mother Eve is now saying to us about the called God. She's talking to us about the called God. So call whatever we want into being. And when we add these numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4, because this is 4, this is meant to be 4, your north, south, east, and west. When we add this together, it sums up the total value is 10. Of course, 10 coincides perfectly with the first word that Mother Eve utters when she says, "Let there be light," and there was light. So we can see that there is a strong correlation right here up to this point, meaning when you are in this 4, the developmental stage here, it also encapsulates all of the sac here. This 369 is it consists of all that is here, of course, in the 10, or 10 consists of all this what is in the sac, to be clearer on this. So this is, of course, we have the luck stage here, but we are taking all this, the jazz, the bucket, the luck, and we are developing these. So in that developmental stage here, of course, we are no longer with the lie, but we have a conviction that we have ate. We have eaten, but we are ate. So ate as in ate, or as in or eat, all sounding the same, and this is what it's about. So we are very vocal in expressing the gods and saying, especially here in this sense, we are talking about Mother Eve. So we are saying that each time we say it, or et, or lie, for instance, when it said that the serpent lied as well, because this is also the serpent right here. The fruit, Mother Eve has, we could say Mother Eve has played the part of the fruit, the serpent, and the mouth, because Mother Eve is really, well, we could say crafty, like the created God. Here's the word craft as well in the create. Well, there's not the word craft, but the word act, or reacted, or act, or create, and so on. Those words are part of the created God. So we are dealing here with the serpent, and this too can also symbolize, as we could see, the number 8. Let's do it this way. So we can see that it has that strong correlation, like it's really the serpent again. So we have the serpent, and this is the tree of life, and there's the serpent. So we can see the consistency right here. Let's do this. Okay. All right. And so, So this is the 8 that we have to activate to bring it to life and be alive with this, and be that 22. So basically, even the word 22, let's see, the word 22, the word 20 is 8 and 2 is 4. 2 equals 13, which is 4, and adding this together gives us 12. 12, of course, is 3, and we can see how, again, 3 is in this 3 is here with this, yes, the 10 that we have spoken about, your north, south, east, and west, where Mother Eve says, let there be light, and there was light. So this is representing light right here, and we've got 3. So 3, 6, 9. This is the block right here. Now, of course, when we say light, because light is also when Mother Eve says, let there be light, and I'm saying that coincides with Mother Eve, but the word light equals 11. Of course, the word 3, which we have just looked at, also equals 11, which is showing that there is a strong correlation between 3 and 11. Okay, so this is 10, 29. 2 plus 9 is 11. So I'm hoping that helps give you an idea of what it is like in the afterlife. The afterlife is that our spirit lives on. It's endless. It's indestructible, and that we make or however we it's like when you're graduating with all that you are. So you could imagine if you were graduating from university, for instance, you would have had to fulfill a series of modules. And so this is the same that we do. In essence, we would have to complete the series of modules, which is in this, the sequence of these numbers. And so this is why it is also said that 10 is balance and is the highest vibrate. It's perfect. 10 is perfect. So basically we would have completed this series here and come to this section of the developmental stage, which is Mother Eve, EVE, right here. Okay, and of course this is now I'm saying as well, this could be seen as the arc, ARC, right here as well, which has often been spoken of, and it would be another 369. Okay, so the arc really is 369. So basically, we are meant to prepare ourselves with how we graduate into the other realm. I hope that helps. And there is a little more on the subject in showing. I would love to really show how we get to this 8 with Mother Eve, but of course I have done several presentations. If you follow them, you probably will be able to get the juice of this presentation even clearer, because it's all about 8. It's all about et, Mother Eve et, of the fruit, and this is what it's all about. And so we go through the cycles. Now we know we are ending this cycle. We have ended the 7,000 year cycle, and we are entering into we are now in a 7-year cycle. This is the foundational stage of building that plan or experiment. We could say experiment because we are the result of an experiment. So we are experimenting and seeing what works. By now we would know intuitively too that some things do work and some things don't. But under the guidance of Mother Eve and the gods and the called God, we are able to create and make man in our image, after our likeness. So it's very important that we equip ourselves to knowing that we can contribute to the new man. Okay, thank you. Let there be light, and there was light.